Oh hey, what's up? I'm just knitting some garter stitch in the round, and I'm going to show you a technique to deal with something that happens when you're knitting, and that is, oh yeah, here it is, running out of yarn. So when this happens, don't freak out. Don't freak out unless you don't have any more yarn, in which case, okay, maybe freak out a little bit or buy some new yarn. But if you already have a new ball of yarn, as I do, then the only thing that you need to do is join it to your work. Now, this is actually a really easy thing to do, and I'm going to show you two ways to do it. So when this happens, what you can do is just backtrack a little bit, leave a little bit of a tail from your old yarn. So I'm going to take, maybe a stitch. That's pretty good. So like 4 or 5 inches on your old yarn, and then take your new ball of yarn, and where is my tail? Here it is. Take your new ball of yarn, and then we're going to slip our right needle into our stitch. And then with our new ball of yarn, I'm just going to lay it at the back here, sort of with my old ball. And I'm going to keep it secure with a finger. I'm just going to kind of clamp down on it. And then I'm going to take this new ball of yarn and just knit into the next stitch. All right, and I'm going to kind of tug it a little bit, but try and keep this secure. And I'm going to knit into the second stitch like this. All right, and then I'm going to knit into the third stitch with my new ball of yarn. And after 3 stitches, your new ball should be pretty secure. So you can see when I tug on it, the strand where we joined, they stay in place. All right, so let's take a look. When you join in this way, you'll see that there are 2 yarn threads that stick out, right? Your old ball of yarn and your new ball of yarn. And there's also this ugly hole that happens. Now, don't worry about this hole. When we finish our cowl, we're going to come back around and just weave in these ends with a tapestry needle. All right, so these strands won't stay here forever. We're going to weave them in, and then we're going to cut them off, and it'll look really nice. All right, but that is pretty much how you join a new ball of yarn to your work. So when you're coming back around, you finished your row and you're coming back around, you would just purl over these 2 stitches, just like it ain't no thing, and just ignore that little gap. You might have to make sure that these strands are secure so that they don't come out too loose, but otherwise you would just purl over them, as if they were a normal stitch. So that's one way that you can join a new ball of yarn to your work. All right, now let's talk about the second way that you can join. Now the second way is the one that I usually use. I prefer that one because it's a little bit more stealth. So I like that one a little bit better, but this one also works fine. If you're kind of in the groove, you're in the zone, this is a nice way to join really quickly. Now the second way to join a new ball of yarn requires that you have a little bit more of a tail on your old ball. So I'm just going to take off some of these stitches that I've knit so I can get a little bit more of a tail. So what's going on here? Okay, let's take one more stitch off. Here we go. All right, so now I've got kind of like 10 inches of my old ball of yarn, and I want that. That's a good length to have. And so now when I reach my next stitch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my new ball of yarn and I'm just going to lay it over my old strand of yarn like this. And I'm just going to use these 2 strands as if they were one. I'm just going to pretend that they've, magically merged together. And I'm just going to hold them as if they were one strand of yarn, and I'm going to knit into the next stitch. So I'm going to make sure this, doesn't flop around. I'm going to keep it over my right hand needle just to keep it secure. I'm holding 2 strands in my right hand as if they were one, and I'm just going to knit into the next stitch like this. So I just knit like it ain't no thing. They're just 2 stitches together, really stealth, and I'm going to keep going. So I've just knit 1 stitch with 2 of my threads held together, and you can see them right here. This is 1 knit stitch, but there's 2 strands, right? And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to knit into my second stitch like that with 2 strands of yarn. And I'm going to knit into my third stitch with 2 strands of yarn. All right, there we go. So now you can see that these 3 stitches have been knit with our new yarn and our old yarn carried together. And on the back, you can see that, this is where we joined. And these are our two yarns that we held together, and it's really secure. So my new ball of yarn is very secure. When I tug on it, it doesn't move around at all. You know, it's right here. This is where we joined. It doesn't move at all. It's not shifting. And my old ball of yarn has been carried around in the back, and it's also very secure because we knit into 3 stitches with it. So you don't have to worry about it coming loose or coming undone. So after you've knit 3 stitches with your old ball and your new ball of yarn held together, then you can just drop your old ball, your old strand, like just, this one, and just take up your new ball of yarn and knit with that. All right, so now you can just keep on knitting, keep on going in your garter stitch with your new ball of yarn. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So when we're done our project, we would come back again and we would weave in these little strands of yarn. And it would be pretty much invisible. So this is a really nice invisible join. They both are, but I'm a bigger fan of this one. And when you come back around, you finished your round, you're coming back, you would just purl into these 3 stitches as if they were just a normal stitch. So don't pay any mind to the fact that you've got 2 strands making up 1 stitch. Just purl into them as if they were 1 stitch. All right, so that is how you join a new ball of yarn to your work.